Hey, what's up? I'm Ashley. Thank you for watching this video, and today we're going to be talking about First Kill, episodes 5 through 8, and the timestamps for each episode will be down in the description. And with that being said, let's get started. So in episode 5, titled First Love, we see Juliet and Cal running. They were still running away from Juliet's dad, and they ended up running to their school, and they even spent the night there. They ended up sleeping there because they didn't want to go home because their parents are still trying to keep them away from each other. Their parents was blowing them up all night, but they didn't answer them, so when they woke up, they called their parents, and they somehow convinced them to let them stay at school and not come home like their parents wanted them to. Juliet and Ben ended up getting into an argument when Juliet told Ben that she's excited about Cal, that she thinks that they're a thing now. Ben said, just because you're pretending to be a human doesn't really make you a human. Come back down to reality. And then Juliet hit him with the, if you really want to talk about reality, you have a crush on a stray boy with a girlfriend who keeps you as a little secret. And she was right, because right after that, Ben and Noah, his crush that be keeping him a secret, was hooking up in the locker room. And he got mad when Ben took a picture of him because he doesn't want that getting out and nobody else to see it. So Noah tried to take the phone away from Ben. They started fighting over it, and when they was fighting over the phone, something ran towards them and knocked the phone out of their hands. They was like, what was that? And they looked, it took a picture of it, and it looked like a ghost. After that, the school's monster alarm went off, so they all had to go on lockdown. And even though Juliet and Ben just had a fight, Juliet was texting Ben, and he texted her the picture of what looked like a ghost on his phone. And because Noah was so worried about what people would think if they caught both him and Ben in the locker room together, he left the locker room when they was all supposed to stay in one spot because they're on lockdown, went out into the hallway and got killed by this ghost. It turned out to actually be a zombie. And since Cal is actually a monster hunter, her and Juliet went out into the hallway to see what was going on because, you know, they're not scared. Juliet's a vampire, Cal's a monster hunter. But when they went out, they saw Noah dead on the floor. Juliet and Cal did end up fighting this zombie, and the zombie turned out to be Ashley, that girl who died at that party. She was like, hey, it's your girl Smashley. She was a little confused. She didn't know why she was dead or why she was a zombie. But it don't matter who she was, they had to kill her for sure because she a whole zombie. And it turned out that Oliver and his girlfriend Carmen are the ones who killed Ashley at that party, and Carmen is a whole witch. Oliver said the reason why he did it is because he was just trying to help his sister Juliet out because he knows that she didn't have her first kill yet. He saw their sister Eleanor in the alley buying blood pills for her, so he was like, she hasn't had her first kill yet, let me help her out and make people think that she did this. He was also trying to convince Juliet to help him kill their sister Eleanor because he believes that she's evil. And the reason why he's the outsider in the family and why the family thinks he's the evil one, he told her that if she helps him take their sister Eleanor down, that he could get Carmen to turn her into a human so that she can be with Cal. There's a spell for that. She didn't say anything, but you can tell she was thinking about it. So since Eleanor promised her grandmother that she would marry whoever she wanted her to marry so that she could save her father from dying, she was in the room getting ready to meet him for the first time. She was putting her makeup on. Grandma was pulling and sucking her in for her to meet her future husband. But Sebastian, Eleanor's dad, was telling her don't do this and that she doesn't have to do that for him. But she was like, I'm going to do it anyway. So they're all sitting down at this table and they're discussing this wedding that's supposed to be happening and what they expect. They want Eleanor to have like 5-7 kids until she has a girl who can be the keeper of this thing called the Keeper of the Emerald Malkia to carry on the lineage, because Grandma Bunny is the keeper of the Emerald Malkia, and when she dies, then Eleanor is next in line. When Eleanor dies, then that girl would be next in line. Eleanor said, I'm not having all those kids, and she got up and left. Grandma Bunny went after her talking about, no, you come back downstairs right now. You going through with this. But Eleanor's dad, Sebastian, was like, she don't have to go back down there. She don't have to do what you say. She slapped Sebastian right across his face and said, you will respect me because I saved your life. And guess what Sebastian did? He ate her. His eyes turned green. opened up his mouth with all those sharp teeth in it and ate her up, chewed her right on up. And when his wife Margot walked in and she just found out that her husband ate up her mama, she wasn't even mad. She was like, I just didn't know that was possible. And they ended up kissing right after that. What is going on? You eat up my mama, I'm eating you up too. What you think this is? Everybody acting all nonchalant. So now in episode 6 called The First Severing, they're having a press conference because Noah is the second kid who died at that school. And Sebastian, who just ate up somebody's mama, is on the podium because he's the district attorney. They want to know what he's about to do with this whole thing, and Sebastian lets them know that he's not reopening the Ashley case because he doesn't think that they're connected. But Juliet and Cal got called into the office with their moms because the police is there and they got both of them on tape the day that Noah got killed. They see them running through the hallway right behind Noah. So they want to know what they know about Noah's death. The moms think this whole thing is ridiculous. They're telling the police that this camera angle doesn't mean anything. You don't have any evidence. So that's when Juliet said she heard screams, and that's the reason why she was in the hallway. She thought that she could help because her face was kind of on camera, but Cal was denying it. She was like, that's not me. I wasn't there. Right after that meeting, Talia and Margot agreed to meet up at Margot's husband's office so they can figure out how to keep their kids away from each other. So when they did meet up, Sebastian let them know that since he's the DA, he was able to get a copy of that tape. Jack told him to let him bring the tape home to his son because his son is good at technology and can make a tape tell whatever story that he wants it to tell. So they agreed that he would take the tape home for 3 hours so that the police will stop looking at Cal and Juliet. And while they were there, they were like, let's keep our daughters away from each other indefinitely, forever. They also agreed on staying away from each other and leaving each other alone, but also said that neither of them will forget that raid. Cal's family is so serious about Cal and Juliet not being together that they made Cal go through this thing called severing. They think that since Juliet bit Cal, that her venom is manipulating her and making her feel attached to her. So they're making her go through this whole process. And her brother Theo is the one hooking himself up to the machine with her because he's gone through a severing before and he says that he has antibodies. But while this whole thing was going on, he was having flashes of his mother being killed by a vampire. But the severing didn't work, so joke's on them. But Juliet and Cal's connection is so strong that even though they couldn't see each other, they would still see each other in their dreams. Even after the severing, Juliet went to go visit Cal. She snuck in her room and they were like, is this a dream? But it turned out not to be. It was real life. You can't stop true love. Them parents better recognize that. So what? She a vampire. So what? She a monster killer. Let them be together. But Theo is going through it. And ever since he performed that severing on Cal, he's been having dreams about the day that his mother got killed by that vampire. He was telling Cal that he thinks that it was a legacy vampire who bit her because when he was with her, he remembers it being daylight outside and only legacy vampires can walk outside during the daylight. But she was trying to assure him that it probably wasn't, but it probably was because he said that the bite marks on her neck disappeared, and that happens with legacy vampires too. I don't know if it's Juliet's family or not, but y'all let me know what y'all think. But Juliet and Eleanor went out. They had a couple of shots. They picked a boy in the club. They took him to the alley and started biting his neck. At first, they was just having fun and feeding off of him, but of course, Eleanor took it too far and she killed the guy. Juliet was like, why did you do that? She knows that her sister took it too far, but Eleanor thinks this is just all fun and games. She collected the guy's ID like she always does when she does this to people and put it in her storage place. Meanwhile, Ben's mom is obsessed with these monsters. She's even in this group called Mams, and it's a bunch of women trying to find monsters. I don't know how that's going to work out for them, but I don't think it's going to end good. Ben is trying to tell his mom that all monsters aren't bad because his best friend is a vampire, but she doesn't know that, so he's trying to distract her, but she's not falling for it. But Ben and Juliet did officially make up in this episode after they had that argument. But since there's this whole group out there called Mams, Apollo is trying to make his way into it because he's like, they can't do our job better than us. And if the guild finds out that they are doing our job better than us, then we're going to be in trouble. And the guild is kind of like their boss or something. And also, Noah's girlfriend's dog found a body outside. The dog ran away from her and started digging this hole and found an arm. And someone wrote on the Fairmonts' house calling them monster lovers and F the DA. I wonder who did it. Who do y'all think did it? So now we get to episode 7, and it's called First Goodbye, and the police are questioning some kids about the body that dog found near the park because they know that a party was just thrown there not too long ago, and they tried to question Cal about it, but Cal wasn't having it. She was like, I know you're not supposed to question a kid without their parent here, and she got up and left. The body was of that man who was from the guild and tried to kidnap Cal that night, but then Juliet ended up killing him. So now Cal and Juliet are now worried that the police will find out that Juliet is the one who killed Cook. So Cal was like, come to my house, my parents will know how to protect you. Juliet laughed and was like, yeah, right, your parents protect me? Okay, but they did end up going to Cal's house asking for their help. The parents wasn't trying to help Juliet. They even pulled their weapons out on her, but Cal let them know that Juliet saved her life because Cook put hands on her, and that she owes Juliet her life because if it wasn't for her, who knows what Cook would have done to her. But Cal's father wasn't backing down. He was like, we don't help vampires ever. Talia was like, we don't want to make her situation worse, so no one will find out who, what, or where she is from us. The guild came knocking at their door demanding to be let in because they know that their daughter Cal is hanging out with a vampire and they know that a vampire killed Cook. So they want to come in there and look around. But by the time they got inside the house, Cal and Juliet were both gone. Cal took her brother Apollo's car and they was just driving. They ended up calling Juliet's brother Oliver, asking him for help. He told them that they could come over, but before they can even get there, they ran into a checkpoint, and at this checkpoint, they were checking for monsters. They made everyone in the car hold a piece of silver to see if they could react to it. When it was Juliet's turn to hold the silver, that's when Cal took her foot off the brake to kind of distract the police from noticing that Juliet kind of reacted to holding this silver. So when they did that, that's when the police said, I'm taking you home myself. And the cop knows Juliet's father, so she was trying to act like she was big and bad. So when they get to Juliet's house, of course, Juliet's parents are like, why is Cal here? Cal was like, I don't want to be here just as much as you don't want me in here. So then that's when Oliver popped up and was like, he said he noticed that it took them too long to get there, so he decided to come to the house and see what was up. And when he got there, Sebastian choked him up. While all of this is going on, people are protesting out in front of the house talking about bring her out. That cop who brought them home somehow got through her thin head that Cal is the monster. So she got the whole town believing that Cal is the monster. Ben's mom let him know that everyone thinks that it's Cal. So Ben had to go and let them know that everybody thinks that Cal is the monster. He don't know how, but everybody think it. So when Margot walked in the room and told Cal that she has to leave, Cal said, okay, I'll go out there. And when those people give me all those tests and I prove to them that I'm not the one that's a monster, then everything is going to turn back on y'all and they're going to be investigating y'all. So Margot was like, stay in the house. Margot switched up real quick and Juliet was surprised on how planned out Cal had everything. And Cal was like, yeah, I have to plan things out. I'm a monster hunter. So now when the guild forced themselves in the house looking for vampires, they found out that Theo was doing this investigation on the legacy vampires. He's trying to figure out which one of them killed his mother, but the guild shut that down real quick. So after that got shut down, Apollo let Theo know that he could probably find out what happened to his mother from Eleanor, because him and Eleanor be vibing. She's a legacy vampire, so he could probably get it out of her. So he went into the bar, they was drinking a little bit, and then they went to the bathroom to hook up. Theo was thinking that Apollo was taking too long, so he walked up in there. She thought she was getting set up, so she started hitting first. They all started fighting. When Apollo went in to stake her, that's when she moved to the side a little, and Apollo ended up staking his own brother Theo. And before she left the bathroom, she used her magic and whispered, "None of you will remember any of this." So now Apollo is left there with his brother, not knowing how any of this happened because Eleanor wiped his memory clean from it. But Apollo did call Cal and told her that something happened to Theo. So then we get to episode 8 called First Betrayal, and that's when Cal pulled up to the place and found Theo dead. She was like, "What happened?" And Apollo couldn't tell her because he couldn't remember any of it. But Juliet told Cal that she should get out of there because the police is still looking for her because they all think that she's a monster. So Cal and Apollo ended up leaving and they left Theo there, while Juliet stayed behind to clean up all the blood in the bathroom. But when Juliet did end up leaving, we see her when she's walking out pick up this lipstick, and she noticed that it was her sister's, and we saw this lipstick before. It's called Heartstopper, and of course she would have a lipstick like that. So when Juliet sees this, she's livid. So she goes to confront her sister about it. She was like, "How can you do this?" And of course Eleanor is acting like this is no big deal. Juliet told her that she's a soulless murderer and she's done with her, and she really was done with her because when she woke up out of her sleep, she had a plan to take Eleanor down. She knows where Eleanor keeps her key to that storage place when she hides all of her evidence from the people that she kills, like all their IDs. She went to Oliver and told him about it. They called the cops, and the cops came to the house, put her in handcuffs, and took her to jail. Her father was worried that she would slaughter everyone in the prison, but her mom said she wouldn't do that because it's still all about power to her, and she wouldn't want to risk bringing all of that attention to the family. But to make matters worse for them, someone came to the door right after that with a letter saying that Bunny is due to appear in court in 2 days. But she can't show up because Sebastian ate her. So now it's going to be a big old thing when Bunny doesn't show up. They're going to want to know where she's at. So they have 2 days to make up an excuse. So now back to Eleanor being in jail. She thought her lawyer came to see her, but it ended up being her brother Oliver. And while he was in there, he reminded her that she's the evil twin because both of them are twins, and that she was the one manipulating him into killing things like his turtle that he loves, and people like their therapist and the camp counselor, and having the family turn against him and sending him away because they thought that he would get the family caught. So remember when Theo was laying dead in the bathroom? Well, he's not dead no more. He's sitting right there at the dinner table, and Cal and Apollo are shook. They don't know what's going on. They know they just saw their brother dead in the bathroom, so how is it possible that he's sitting here at the table? He did end up excusing himself from the table because he said he had heartburn, but once he got into his bedroom, he started moaning and groaning. He was in pain. Cal and Apollo was eavesdropping at the door, and that's when Talia walked by and said, "What are y'all doing?" She heard him in there screaming too, so she busted open the door, and when she got in there, she saw Theo bleed from his eyes, from his mouth. Theo is a vampire now, and I'm like, how did that happen? Talia was calling for Jack. When Jack came, Jack and Apollo tied him down, and Jack is saying that he has to kill Theo because Theo isn't his son anymore. He's a vampire. He's got to go. But Thalia was like, no, you're not. You're not killing my son. And they kept going back and forth on whether Jack was going to kill him or not. And he just had to throw in her face that Theo is his son because Thalia didn't come into Theo's life until he was 7. But she's not trying to hear that. She's like, he's my son too. So while all that's going on, Apollo is still trying to remember what happened that night, but he's having a hard time because Eleanor erased his memory from that night, but he's thinking so hard that he figured out that Eleanor was there that night and she's a part of this whole thing. Theo ended up breaking free from that harness. He ended up running outside, and that's when he knocked over Juliet. And when he was outside, that's when we all found out that Juliet is the one who turned Theo. Juliet said that the reason why he's acting so crazy is because he's a new vampire and he has to feed off of the one who turned him. And of course, Cal can't believe this. She's hurt and confused. And that's when Juliet ended up telling her that when her and Apollo left the bathroom, Theo woke up and said, help me. So that's why she bit him. But Cal's like, why would you do that? You knew it was a chance that he would turn into a vampire. Why did you turn my brother into a vampire? And I'm thinking, isn't it better to have your brother as a vampire than just dead and gone? But I get it. They're monster hunters and her brother is now a monster. So Cal ended up running Juliet away, but she regretted it right afterwards because she started chasing her down the street. Juliet's in the car, but Cal's on foot. It's real love. Now back to Thalia and Theo real quick. Thalia told Jack that she was going to say her final goodbyes to Theo. And when Jack left the room, that's when Thalia got Theo up out of there. I'm like, where is she taking him? And it turned out that she took him to Oliver's house. Before she left, she told him that he'll always be her son and that she knows that he has to feed, but try not to hurt anyone. Thalia told Oliver, thanks for doing this, and she left. And Oliver told Theo, welcome to your new home. So Theo is staying with Oliver and Carmen. And when they got inside the house, Oliver told Theo that the reason why he's back in Savannah is for Theseus and to ruin lives. And he said, as you can see, I brought some friends with me and in the backyard is a whole bunch of monsters. He said, me, you, and Carmen are going to run this bitch. And then it goes off. I'm wondering what's about to happen with all the monsters in the backyard. Y'all let me know what you think is going to happen, and also let me know your thoughts on this new series. Do y'all like it or not? Y'all looking forward to season 2? And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already and want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one.